What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Watch It in Action. I'm BouseFeenux, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Attica. The Attica is essentially a crossbow weapon based on a Tenno design, so this is a Tenno weapon, and the cool thing about this is since it's a Tenno weapon, we might be able to get a primed version of this in the future, which would be super amazing because this is one of my favorite weapons to play around with. So, taking a look at the build we've got here, I've basically got 3 different builds for this, and you can kind of play around with it. I've got, my config B, config A, config C. The config A is the one that's on the website right now. I haven't put the other ones up because I don't really feel like they're super viable. They're just fun to play around with, and, I mean, you can use them, but I guess it kind of depends on your playstyle. I wanted to kind of go for a general build here, and that's this one that you're seeing. So, it does count as a rifle, essentially, even though it uses crossbow bolts or whatever. So you can still use rifle mods on it like a bow. However, there are some bow-specific mods that you can use on this weapon, and we'll get to that here in a second. But as far as this build goes, we're using heavy caliber. The accuracy the accuracy hit you take doesn't really affect the weapon that much. Serration is going to give us our damage, and the Attica is actually a crit weapon, believe it or not. And with the Vital Sense and Point Strike, we get a 50% critical chance with a 3.3 multiplier, which is pretty solid. We're able to dish out some pretty decent DPS with this build. And as far as the elements go down here, you can change these out to anything you like. I've left this spot unpolarized, so that way you can fit, cryo rounds or whatever, get that viral build if you want it. But you can switch these out for anything. I'm just using radiation and toxin for the purposes of this video real quick. But that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at this build and see exactly what it can do. Let's take a look at the Attica in action real quick. Now, I'm not going to be using any Warframe powers for this because I want you to see the weapon in its raw form, like without any buffs or anything like that. I just want you to see what it can do against these level 90 corrupted butchers real quick. So we're going to go out here. The one frustrating thing I don't really care for with this weapon is it's a bow type weapon essentially. It shoots crossbow bolts, but it has no innate punch through. The one thing it does have going for it, though, is it's got what's called corpse throw, and that's going to allow you to throw enemies into one another, pin enemies to walls, stuff like that, and that'll do a little bit of damage, that momentum from the corpses being thrown. So you can see that the crits here are pretty reliable. We're getting some in the tens of thousands. Those 2,600 crits are pretty nice. Those are good enough to take out, most high-level enemies, but, as you rank up and as you get higher-level enemies fighting you, you're going to start seeing that against some targets like corrupted gunners, things with like really heavy armor, this weapon's going to start to fall off like a lot of others. But yeah, I mean, I like this weapon a lot. This is a really solid build. It's going to do some good damage. It's got a pretty decent reload time. I mean, the ammo economy's good. It's got 16 shots in it, which is going to allow you to, lay down some fire for quite a long time with as slow as this weapon fires. So, you can use it as an automatic weapon, or you can just, place your shots carefully and, pick and choose who you shoot at. But that's one of the things I like about this weapon is it kind of gives you that choice. Now, on to these next builds, I will be using Mirage for this one, just because it's so crazy with her. And basically, this build revolves around using the Thunderbolt mod, which causes arrows to explode. You got a 30% chance to cause your arrows to explode. And when we use that in conjunction with Mirage's clones, the results are pretty hilarious. So I'll show you this real quick. So you want to make sure you're using Mirage, and then you throw on your clones here, your hollow mirrors, and then, Eclipse for extra damage or whatever. And we're going to use those same guys real quick. So let's throw these guys out here. And let's go to town. So you notice that it kind of creates, like, you're basically a carpet bomber now. You're like a little AC-130. This is pretty fun to do too with Zephyr and the the Tonkor build, but you just replace the Tonkor with the Attica, and it'll increase the flight speed of these projectiles. You'll be able to fly around, drop carpet bombs on your enemies, stuff like that. But I don't use this build too much. It sacrifices some of the utility of the other build and some of the damage because Thunderbolt, as impressive as it looks, doesn't exactly scale that well. It doesn't scale with any of your base damage or anything like that. It's just a set damage of that explosion. So, kind of fun to use. Nice to clear out some of those, those little maggot enemies that run around on infested missions, stuff like that, because this will be enough damage to take care of those guys. But, you can use that one at your discretion. This last build here kind of shows you some capabilities of the Attica that a lot of people I don't think realize, and it uses the Vile Acceleration mod. Now what this does is it's going to increase our fire rate dramatically from 3.33 to 9.33. So that's pretty significant. That's going to allow us to fire very quickly. The only problem with this build is with super fast fire rate, the Attica becomes extremely unwieldy, and you'll see that here in a second when I try to shoot it. It's going to make our recoil go off the charts. And you kind of have to be a little skilled in controlling that, but It is really fun to use. I mean, you can dish out a lot of that damage very quickly. It increases your DPS for sure, but that makes the Attica more of a burst damage weapon than it does a sustained DPS weapon. So, I mean, you can use this depending on your playstyle if you like reloading your Attica every 2 seconds, but, I mean, that's up to you. I've put this build here because I think it's fun, I think it's viable, and I think it's definitely worth a mention or for you to try out. But that's one of the things I like about this gun is, I mean, it's got so many options, a couple different things you can do with it, have some fun with it. But until next time, guys, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you learned something about the Attica that maybe you didn't already know and enjoyed watching some of the crazy stuff you can do with it. I will see you guys in the next one, and thank you so much for watching.